Okay, we are live. Welcome everyone to this Agent Intelligent episode. We're exploring everything around the AI agent, the future AI agent, info around the AI agent, cool agent builders and thought leaders in the space. I'm Francesco. I'm contributing to MotorDAO. I'm also leading developer relation at Consensus. And today we're diving deep into the technology and the platform interesting around Giza Tech and we have Renç here. It's a pleasure to have you. It's an honor to have you. You want to quickly introduce yourself?
Pleasure, man. Thank you so much for hosting me. Yeah, I'm Renç. I'm the CEO of Giza. Absolute pleasure to be on this podcast. Really interesting stuff that you guys are taking on MotherDAO, kind of like making a platform for the agents.
Yeah.
At Giza, we focus solely on financial implementations of autonomous agents, and happy to dive into it today.
Yeah, that's super exciting. It's normally like a general question or agent, but the fact that you're building on the financial, on the kind of the DeFi agent vertical, it makes me a lot of interesting kind of thinking and discussion. But let's get it started. So what were the problem that you were trying to solve with this kind of specific agent slash kind of agency platform?
Yeah, for sure. The title of the stream was "What the fuck is Xenocognitive finance?"
That's the
and
best.
that's probably like the best place to start.
Mhm.
And the vision behind Xenocognitive finance is it is a new paradigm
Mhm.
where capital is liberated from human limitations,
Mhm.
where we go towards financial acceleration, where we create truly intelligent and unstoppable markets. And we are not necessarily focusing on TVL, but
Mhm.
we are creating productive capital that
Mhm.
does not sit idle, that it moves, it thinks, it produces. And the future of decentralized finance, it isn't idle value. It is around intelligent liquidity that is automated, composable, and relentlessly productive. So the idea of Xenocognitive finance is how to enable these things, how to enable capital flow with very little and or no human interaction at
Mhm.
all. And what that unlocks. And our mission at Giza
Mhm.
is to transform how capital operates in the centralized system.
Mhm.
Our mission is to abstract the cognitive and operational complexity of DeFi
Yeah.
and to unlock the next $1 trillion of productive liquidity through programmable intelligence. And that's a little bit towards like unboxing the Xenocognitive finance terminology. what Why are we doing this, and what are the problems that we are trying to solve, is kind of like threefold. As it is a financial market, every single stakeholder that is interacting with it is impacted with one way or the other. From the user side, we have clearly exceeded the capabilities of humans in the current financial markets. I have a nice slide to show you that kind of
Oh,
explains where
yes.
we are.
I really like when
Um,
people are sharing screens because they give a lot of memes. This is
yeah, so this to me this is a great way to explain where we are in DeFi. I'm sure you have seen this meme many times before. It kind of explains the complex decisions that we have to take as users in Web3. And at a certain point, I think it was 5 years ago, this meme was correct. Like you either had to go to Aave or Compound, and you had very limited levers to pull, and the sophisticated products and strategies were not there yet. To me, we have moved on from this a very long time ago, and what now resembles DeFi is more something like this, where you have thousands of options, and all of these options, they come with its own risk and security exposures, and we are seeing fragmentations of likes that we have never seen before. It takes a user days to be onboarded to a DeFi protocol. It takes
Mm.
30, 40 transactions to do something, and then the user has to spend infinite amount of time to understand where the best offer is at any moment. There are certain solutions out there that is aiming to solve these things,
Mm.
and for us these solutions also fall short. One of them is Vaults. Vaults has been a capital efficiency and innovation at it for the past few years. but currently they lack, the financial dynamics that we deserve and demand in 2025. Vaults still pull all of the money in together, and we all know the risks of putting all of your eggs in one basket. And vaults tend to operate on almost like simple loop-based strategies. They don't give the market dynamics and the dynamic strategy identification that, for example, an agent has. And the other thing that vaults lack is personalization. We don't offer personalized finance with vaults. On the other hand, we also have this trend of chat interfaces as LLM wrappers that tends to focus on this problem. However, they don't really solve the problem. They focus on automating predefined strategies. They still require the users to know exactly what they want and how they want to get there, and they focus on serving the same user type. So for us, it's time to go for something new. And what we want to offer at Giza is something like this. We want to completely remove the friction
Yes.
from the user side and give them the tools to combat with the current needs of DeFi.
Nice.
And from the user side, this is the problem that we're trying to solve. The value proposition is you spend less time and you are more profitable by the hour. And those two metrics are obviously the most important metrics for the user. And from the protocols and ecosystems that we work with, it is more towards the initial thesis that we laid around making productive capital. Currently, how capital is managed in DeFi, how liquidity is perceived in DeFi is still in like yesterday's static capital measurements with TVL, where we tend to measure where the money sits rather than what the money does. And what we essentially do is that we take the capital of the management of capital from a user who is more prone towards preserving it, who, for example, goes to a protocol and parks it there for 4 months, and we give it to an agent whose sole responsibility is to optimize that capital. What that means is that from that same capital, we generate exponentially more volume, exponentially more productivity. That capital is always moving within the ecosystem, and we change the perception of liquidity and what it can enable. So at a very high level, this is what Xenocognitive finance is for the users, for the protocols, and for the ecosystems. These are some of the problems that we are aiming to solve.
This is a really kind of like compelling answer, and I think I'm identifying also myself a lot since DeFi summer. We forked so much kind of like dexes, like especially like a DeFi consumer had always kind of like, I think, a pain to kind of like navigate the space, right? Because as you said, like at the beginning you were like getting loans on Aave specifically. Now there is so many, especially like when you get into like risk-taking, like kind of like specific like sub products that is not just straightforward loans. But also like what I'm trying to understand also like from you is the way that DeFi consumers, and let's call it like right now AI agent consumers, like so users like me and you that actually want to actually use and push DeFi products, the way that we are interacting is changing, right? We're not going through like, for example, like specific interfaces, specific like I feel also like they will kind of like the way that even wallet specific like kind of like users, you will actually like be able to do specific transactions. So that's actually super interesting what you're saying. Do you have like is there like a specific preference on kind of like operations that you're focusing on the DeFi side, that you're thinking whatever DeFi is pushing, we see 90% of operations just taking loans or just pushing like some of the risk-taking operations, or like you're kind of like trying to kind of like getting out there in all kind of DeFi specific use case?
Yeah. On your first point, I couldn't agree more. You are 100% hitting the nail on the head. The DeFi protocols are very much becoming a part of the backend. They're a backhand component moving forward, similar to a wallet infrastructure, where in an instance of a wallet, you'll be able to get the best deal in DeFi with one click. You're not necessarily having to go to Base, not necessarily having to go to Morpho or Aave. And that kind of abstraction is super powerful. to one, facilitate capital flow, but also to truly onboard like this next wave of billions of users that people have been expecting. In order to get to higher volumes, in order to get to mass adoption, we do need to reduce the complexity of the best offering of Web3, which is DeFi. The second part of the question, Giza is an infrastructure that enables any kind of intelligent financial market. And the use cases that can be built on top of Giza are quite limitless. Currently, the first thing that is on the Giza's infrastructure is an agent called Arma that we have built ourselves. And Arma does 24/7 automated, personalized, risk-aware stablecoin yield optimization. It is the answer for anyone who's asking, where do I start to invest in stablecoins? How can I invest in stablecoins? I don't know how to invest in stablecoins. And it is the best way to invest in stablecoins because it takes a lot of factors into account. We have built Arma ourselves because we really wanted to understand the blueprint and the technical requirements of what it takes to truly automate DeFi and its complex strategies. And now that we have it, every single use case is kind of like one click away. Like LRT agents, arbitrage agents, delta neutral agents. There are tons of agents that are being built on top of Giza right now.
Yes.
Some built by us and some built by others that is building on top of Giza, and they all serve the same function.
Nice. I definitely want to deep dive a little bit on the specific architecture, also wonder on the framework side. I think you also like have a lot of lesson learned, but let's dive a little bit on the functionality side. I don't know if you kind of like want to walk us through a little bit the functionality on kind of like the Giza kind of like tech specifically, if you want to share like some demo or something, how you actually interact with Giza. But I'm definitely super interesting also like for the builders out there to understand, okay, how actually this works.
Yeah, for sure. We can start with like a small demo on Arma, and that will clarify certain things already.
Oh, nice.
So this is my Arma, and my Arma has been doing stablecoin yield optimization for me since I deposited my first capital, which was at the end of January.
So, Renç, is Arma as a sub agent of Giza Tech, or how?
Yes.
Okay.
You can think of it as the first financial agent built on top of Giza's infra.
Oh, nice.
We kind of wanted to lead by example and didn't want to become another infrastructure play that has nothing built on top of it. And we really wanted to showcase, what truly financial autonomous systems can create. And I have deposited my funds into Arma at the end of January, and since then it has, withdrew, deposited, and evaluated, and identified, and executed multiple strategies for me without me having to sign anything, without me having to prompt anything, and most of it happened when I was sleeping. And as a result, I leverage all of the best opportunities on stablecoin yield optimization that comes across the base ecosystem. So whether that's a better yield on Morpho or Moonval, Arma identifies these for me. While identifying, it takes into account multiple variables. It takes into account the APR of a given vault, but it also takes into account the protocol and ecosystem rewards that are being distributed on that vault. So it identifies and harvests rewards for me as well in an automated fashion. And that's almost like an agent on its own, because when we think about the cross-chain environment, there's always some sort of an AI winter or a DeFi spring going on somewhere with huge incentivizations. And as humans, we have very limited capacity to detect these things. But Arma is doing it for me. Once it identifies these rewards, it also does a cost forecast, and it basically calculates, if I execute this move, is the cost justifying the profit side? And only once it justifies, it then executes. So we don't waste gas, we don't waste transactions. You are always secure, you're always more profitable. And these are just the things that, machines and intelligent machines are much better than humans at doing. And as you can see, it has been like working my stable coins for me, and it is constantly generating yield for me. And within the Arma offering and Giza agents offering, one thing that we take deeply into heart is the personalization aspect that goes into towards your idea of moving protocols into the backend and becoming a more user-centric ecosystem, a financial ecosystem. This little user experience kind of like is very cute, and I love it, and it summarizes where we want to take DeFi in a very streamlined fashion. For the users of Arma, they can personalize their agent. If they want to use one of the protocols, they just have to toggle this on and off. If they don't want to use it, they can toggle it on and off. And for us, that's how simplified should be to use a DeFi protocol. You don't have to go to Morpho. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to go through its complex dynamics to get the best possible return for your capital. And as I mentioned, this is the first thing that is being built on top of Giza, and Arma is a manifestation of something that is much bigger. It is the manifestation of and the proof of point that what's possible when we tightly couple intelligence and capital together. And this is our main mission currently.
This is very cool. So the interaction with the agent are done on the basically on the side specific, right? You basically connect the wallet, you deploy, and basically like Arma will basically take care of the specific like sub operations.
Exactly. And in the deployment part, it is important to highlight that it is non-custodial.
Yeah.
And we provide non-custodial safe automation because like trust minimization, control, and security, these components are quite dear to us when we provide, intelligent financial tools. And for us, they are engineering requirements and they are not just ethical guidelines. And what we have built as an infra is solely focused on this. It provides non-custodial, safe automation that is within the boundaries that you set. So every single agent comes with the session keys primitive, and session keys allows us to basically cryptographically bound limitations to each agent. So the agent can only interact with, for example, Aave, Morpho, etc. And this is for Arma and all of the other agents that we deploy. And this is super important because as we provide these tools of intelligence and automation, it is super important that the user still feels very much in control. And in terms of like the interaction for it, it very much depends on the use case that you're looking into. You can do this stablecoin yield optimization through the Arma's UI, but we are now working with quite a lot of wallet providers that moves Giza into like a backend solution where within your wallet instance, with one click, you can get yield on your USDC. And on the backend, there's an agent that handles all of the complexity of DeFi for you, but you don't have to be exposed to it and you don't have to be dealing with its complexity. And it just ties you to the best offering of DeFi. And for us, like abstracting all of these operations is super important to, again, facilitate capital flow and go towards like wider audiences.
Nice. It's very interesting in terms of like interaction and question. Can you also like simulate a specific like action before even having the agent to do that on kind of like on mainnet? Like for example, I think like you have specific kind of how do you say cascade of action that you want to do in DeFi specifically, even on Morph, for example. Like can you specify what action I want to prioritize, or the agent is kind of like self-sustained and we basically do like the one that is mostly interesting at this point of time? And also can you run simulation before, like, because I assume people want to trust and run simulation. I don't know, but it's testnet is always not the same as kind of mainnet.
I think you know it better than me, where the testnet is not always the same as mainnet. As you know, many of the protocols don't even have instances on testnet, and it's very difficult to simulate a same environment. So it very much depends on the kind of agent that is built on top of Giza. Arma as a first instance, again, it allows for risk-adjusted returns on stable coins, which is something super important for us. But there's, for example, LRT agents being built on top of Giza. There's delta neutral agents being built on top of Giza, and each of them comes with a different set of
Nice.
interactions.
Nice, very cool. And the model specifically, like, because I see, okay, there is performance of the specific like agent on top of like on Aave, on Seamless, on Compound. I assume like the agent is taking like automatic a fee that's going some kind of like agent treasury. But how are those performances like based on a specific time frame, or how does it work? This kind of like the revenue models and the performance track record. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Let me share my
Yeah,
screen
I
and,
would just ask the question that I think I will get if I will want to try this, right? So I think that's really
of
good and
course.
relevant.
So this is the result of some back testing that we did before deploying it on base. The yellow dotted line that you see is the performance of the agent, and the rest of the lines that you see are basically protocols. This chart compares a static position where you would come and deposit your capital to Aave, for example, and leave it there for 4 months, and compares that to giving the same capital to the agent, where the agent constantly leverages every single opportunity that the market presents itself. So under the dotted lines, you will see like different protocol lines, because what this chart tells you is that the agent is always on the most profitable protocol. So there's a huge difference between committing to just a single protocol that can offer a limited return, to giving it to an agent that can constantly scan and put you in more and more profitable positions. That difference is exactly around 83% higher yield on average. So if you deposit $1,000 to whatever protocol and leave it there for 4 months and give the same $1,000 to an agent, the agent will outperform and create almost 2x more yield for you through continuous capital optimization, through continuous evaluation of the market, and through constantly executing over and over again 100% profitable plays. So this is something super important to us, because as we build, financial tools, we do want to build the tools that provide a lot of value for the users and the
Of
protocols.
course, of course. And I think people will start and kind of like, okay, give me like some stats around human competition. But I think on stable, a 6% range is super like interesting, right?
Yeah.
Especially because first you're providing the multi-chain side, and I think also like on stable sometimes is hard, but also this is 24/7, right? And the fact that this specific DeFi operation, you can also extend the agent capability further later. I think that's super interesting. Is this like open source? How is the kind of like because I'm conscious of time. Like run us a little bit like through the architecture. You started like with stuff like Eliza. How was the experience? Like some lesson learned that you say, okay, that was kind of like some fuck up. So if you're building right now an agent, don't do this, or like give us some insights,
Yeah.
because I think you've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, so for us to tell you a little bit about Giza and the team behind it, we are a team of data scientists and machine learning engineers. So we come from more the AI side of the equation rather than the crypto side of the equation.
So Python, Python strong
We do
backgrounds.
exactly. We do have a team that has built AI solutions that serve millions of people in consumer goods and fintech. So we understand what kind of infrastructure you need to scale this in a trusted manner. So everything that we have built is built in house, from like the models to the infrastructure that we have. The Giza protocol, in its essence, provides all of the tools that any developer and any agent creator would need to be plugging any kind of AI system to DeFi. It can be an agent, it can be a model, it can be like a simple strategy. This is enabled by three main layers. The first layer is what we call a semantic interoperability layer that solves the lack of standardization problem in DeFi, where every single protocol has a different way of doing exactly the same thing. And we use an MCP to facilitate this integration. The second part is the authorization layer, which we discussed a little bit today, where we have the non-custodial automation powered by smart accounts and session keys, a mix of account abstraction and cryptographically limited operations for the agent. And the third part is a decentralized execution layer which is in partnership with Eigenlayer. And these three layers allows you to build an AI system that can reason and read any DeFi protocol and DeFi operation, safe non-custodial automation, a decentralized execution layer with no central point of failure. And within this developer ecosystem, there's an array of things you can build. You can build building blocks for other developers to use. You can build full-on applications. We now have, businesses being built on top of Giza, and everything is quite interoperable, and it's quite a wide financial design space.
Nice, nice, nice. Any specific kind of use case in terms of like this is where the agent should go next? Like that you feel I don't
Yeah,
know. Mhm.
for me, everything is around liquidity and the perception of liquidity and capital in DeFi, and how the current structure of capital and how we perceive capital is quite outdated. It is quite unacceptable where we have trillions sitting idle and not doing anything. I think ecosystems that embrace the agentic revolution, ecosystems that go towards user-centric financial systems, will make the most of their TVL, will make it productive for their users, for their protocols, and for their network. And to me, making the most of the fundamental liquidity in DeFi is the most interesting use case, where intelligence and capital, when tightly coupled, can generate an absolute revolution.
Yes, yes. No, I agree. Agree. Especially on stable. I think people has treasuries and they're not letting like they're doing some basic like on like staking on ETH, like running their own nodes. But what you're speaking here is a little bit like different and actually like performing specific actions. And that's super interesting. I definitely like wanna see more, and we shall definitely like put some links out in terms of like performance. Like I think like the definitely like one of the biggest like user kind of target users that you have is not just let's say independent DeFi users, but could be going even more on a B2B side, funds of funds, treasury managers. They're actually like going in a direction. Okay, I have stables, and maybe critically speaking. These counterparts want to understand. Okay, security wise, I think it's really strong the non-custodial side that you're mentioning. But also like performances compared other, let's say, stable protocols, right? Because a 6% USDC is super interesting. But anyway, like not speaking about the performances, like okay, lesson learned. You kind of mentioned lesson learned around like how was the build. Any kind of like tips or recommendation that you think if I'm building right now an agent, this is something you should go. Like, do you see the frameworks? Kind of like going in a good direction, or you feel like we have too much kind of like lock-in around specific programming languages? What is your thinking about it?
Yeah, at Giza, we try to provide as much as liberty as possible to people who want to build financial innovation tools and businesses. I think the most important thing here is while you try to provide these things, you provide trust minimization, you provide security, you provide scale, you provide certain guarantees. So we all go through this obstacle and expansion period in a safe and manageable manner. I think the potentials of unboxing this is immense. We will truly change how blockchain operates. We will truly change what DeFi means and how people interact with DeFi. And towards that path, I think there are good frameworks out there. I'm quite biased towards Giza, obviously,
Yeah,
because of the things that we mentioned. But
yeah.
as long as there are passionate people in the space, I think we will go much higher.
Yes, yes, that's super interesting. But you guys started building with like stuff like Eliza, or you build your own framework? Like Giza is from scratch, Python
Giza
based.
is from scratch.
Nice,
Giza
nice,
is from scratch. Now we're building out our SDK
nice.
for any developer to come and build on top of Giza.
Yes.
And it will be quite exciting to get those
Yeah.
people on board.
I mean, yeah, I think the SDK providing the API side for other agents, because I think it will be not human building. It will be also like you will provide services to other agent they want to do DeFi specific operation. I think
For sure.
that would be super cool. And I see also like you have stuff like the leaderboard, so you're also like running different also like community activation. So that's very exciting. No, I mean, I don't know, like what else like you want to share with the audience. I know that we're on time here, Rench, and I'm just we need to kind of like close it up, but we definitely need to do a part
Yep.
two.
Yeah, just a big thank you for hosting us, Francesco, and to the Mother DAO community and the project behind it. Um, I think the initial agent space
Mhm.
has already saturated folks, and the
Oh yeah.
people are now looking for utility. People are now
Yeah.
looking for not launch pads, but intelligent, autonomous businesses being built on top of decentralized finance.
Yeah.
And this is what we are here to provide. Giza's mission again is to truly unlock what capital can do and unlock the next $1 trillion that comes to decentralized systems to programmable intelligence. And one shout out is that if you are a developer, if you do want to build autonomous agents that has financial use cases,
Mhm.
please feel free to come to our Discord, and we will help you get onboarded.
Nice. Yeah, this is exactly what I like. Also, like to closing up in terms of like, okay, this is what you can do as a builder too, right? And it's super important because mostly of the people hearing us are actually like builder in the space around the agency. Okay, I mean, thank you so much. Kind of like Ranch is a big pleasure. Thanks also for everyone listening. Thanks everybody that coordinated this space. We made it happen finally, post all the kind of like Denver discussions. And yeah, so if you're deeping dive like into specific like things, if you're building agents, always like make sure you share, check out the future SDK. We definitely share some of like the future announcement happening, so that people actually can try your new SDK. And yeah, and for the people out there, because that's the reason kind of why Mother exists, like is building social graph around agents, right? And kind of like avoiding what happens with the DeFi summer, that everybody was forking DEXs, and then in the end, the people that got dragged was actually like users in the space, because there was no track record. And I think right now with agent is happening the same, but I think bringing social trust, social reputation is super important. Sounds good. So thanks everyone. Yeah, it's been a blast. And make sure that you reach out either in Discord, show us what you're building, show us all the like the some of the recommendation that you have for other agents. And thanks so much, French, for coming on. And I see you.
Thank you, Francesco, for hosting us.
Bye.
Ciao.